Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It is October 21st, 2025. We are in the New Testament book of Romans. We're going to read chapter 13 today. All right. So, Paul has made the case that we're all sinners. Paul has made the case that the only way that we could overcome that sin and be reconciled to God is through the death of Jesus Christ and through his grace and mercy. As we accept his grace and mercy, we make that exchange of, okay, you take our sinful nature to the cross, Jesus, and in exchange, we'll take on your righteous nature. And it should change how we're going to live and react in this world. And how does that look? That's what Paul is telling us. Here's how you should live your life as a Christian. Started yesterday. We're going to see today he's going to talk about submitting to government and saying, hey, you know what? God is the ultimate authority. So all authority must come from God. So when a government is trying to exert authority, you submit to it. Policeman wants to give you a ticket for doing something and you didn't think you did it. Well, yes sir, no sir, here's my ID, sir. Okay, you want me to give a ticket? I will take the ticket and then I'll go to court and fight it. You go with the authority. Don't buck it. If I'm obedient to that cop, that shows obedience to God. If I'm going to be disobedient to that cop, somewhere along the line I'm disobedient to God, is essentially is what he's getting at here. And he talks about paying taxes. You can pay your taxes, pay your obligations. This idea that as a Christian, I am an exile, I'm a sojourner here in this fallen creation. And as such, I'm going to follow Christ, and I'm going to follow the rule of God, and I'm, even earthly authorities, if they're telling me to do something against God and against Christ, I don't have to follow that. But if they're not doing that, then I have to submit to that. And I have to do that because I'm a Christian and people know I'm a Christian and they want to see what I'm going to do. And I'm going to set that good example of, hey, you know what? If that's what the authorities say, then that's what I'll do. I have to pay a tax for that so I can use the highways. I'll pay a tax for that so I can use the highways. Oh, some of my money is going to go to something I don't believe in. Too bad. I'm going to pay my taxes. That's my obligation. Again, Paul is talking in the first century. The authorities he's talking about are the Romans. The Romans, well, let's see, in this period are somewhere between Caligula making his horse a senator and Nero castrating his male slave so he can marry him and dress him up in his dead wife's clothes. And oh yeah, the dead wife, he stomped her to death when he found out she was pregnant. Okay, so Rome is not a model of good government. But Paul's saying, hey, that doesn't matter. That's the government. As long as they're not telling you to do something against your Christian beliefs, do it. Show your respect to, even though I don't believe you're good or you're bad. Sometimes governments are good, sometimes they're bad. Hey, it doesn't matter. My standard that I base my life on is Christ. And it's so far above what you're doing down here that it doesn't matter. So long as I'm obeying Christ, I'm not worried about this down here. If I think I'm being mistreated, you know what? I'm still going to be respectful and kind and loving and understand that, hey, it's all going to work its way out at the end. Someone's got a camera, they're going to record. I want, when that message hits the internet, I want them to see the good Christian who was just saying, oh, yes, sir, no, sir, okay. And that I was the one that was being kind and loving and respectful. And that goes right into loving your neighbor. And not just your neighbors who believe what you believe, but the neighbors who don't believe what you believe. In fact, people who are actually trying to do you harm. You know what? If you're trying to do me harm, and I respond by trying to do you harm, then we're equal. You took me from up here down to here. You're doing me harm. I'm just going to stay right where I am and love you and kindness and respect you. Maybe I can get you to come up, but if not, you know what? I stayed right where I was supposed to be. I was a good example. Maybe you didn't see the example, but maybe someone over there was listening to us fight and they're going, wow, that guy's really just being nice and kind to that person who's going crazy over there. Hey dude, how did you keep your cool? Hey, you know what? Because my eyes are on Jesus. Oh, okay. Well, tell me more about that. Put on Christ. Show people Christ. Everything we do, good, bad, show them Christ. And that's where Paul is going to end this section. So let's go ahead. We're going to read Romans 13. Let every soul be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and the authorities that exist are appointed by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authority resists the ordinance of God, and those who resist will bring judgment on themselves. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to evil. Do you want to be unafraid of the authority? Do what is good, and you will have praise from the same. For he is God's minister to you for good. But if you do evil, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain. For he is God's minister, an avenger to execute wrath on him who practices evil. Therefore you must be subject not only because of wrath, but also for conscience sake. For because of this you also pay taxes, for they are God's ministers, attending continually to his very thing. Render therefore to all their due, taxes to whom taxes are due, customs to whom customs, fear to whom fear, honor to whom honor. Owe no one anything except to love one another, for he who loves another has fulfilled the law. For the commandments, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not murder, you shall not steal, you shall not bear false witness, you shall not covet, and if there is any other commandment, are all summed up in this saying, namely, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Love does no harm to a neighbor, therefore love is the fulfillment of the law. And do this knowing the time that now it is high time to awake out of sleep. For now our salvation is nearer than when we first believed. The night is far spent, the day is at hand. Therefore let us cast off the works of darkness, and let us put on the armor of light. Let us walk properly as in the day, not in revelry and drunkenness, not in lewdness and lust, not in strife and envy, but put on the Lord Jesus Christ, and make no provision for the flesh to fulfill its lusts. May God bless reading his word, and may God bless you. Bye.